The Auburn Tigers selected to potentially be a top 25 team going into next season? Is that crazy?
At the Rage Room. Midweek Report brought to you by Rage Room. Visit them if you're in Opelika at 1510 2nd Ave. And if you're in the Birmingham area at 2616 7th Ave South, Birmingham, Alabama. They got axe throwing up there. We appreciate the Rage Room for sponsoring this segment. So make sure you tell them that the War Report sent you. Also, you can give the gift. You can join our community by hitting that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. Media Days is on the way, and you want to be a member of the War Report while we cover the entire SEC from Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. Myself, Ike. I think this is our 4th year straight cover Media Days, Ike. We've been to Atlanta, to Dallas, to Nashville, and back, and now we're back in Atlanta. So tune in with us during that week. That's going to be like the 3rd week in July, I believe. But we'll give you guys some more information as that comes. Also, you want to get on some of these film reviews that Ike is doing. That is member-only stuff. You can give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. We appreciate you guys for helping us grow our community. Also, visit our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And after you get all your ailments taken care of, go get fresh for the weekend with friends at Vibe Vaults. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Sweet Eye in Phoenix City, Alabama. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Again, if you're in the Phoenix City, Columbus area, you can hop on over. And if you don't mind making a drive down from Auburn, Opelika, they got you covered as well, too. Check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms. We are there bringing you guys lots of audio-only content. The Auburn Express, Up-Tempo, College Loop, and Just a Sec pods, as well as the War Report Gaming channel, bringing you guys something special there. So please go check out our podcast content. Support us on audio. Turn on subscriptions and automatic downloads for us. Does us a lot of good when you guys do that. We appreciate you guys for helping us grow there too.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate everybody who is jumping in here on a Wednesday. Hopefully everybody is having a good week. Before we get into the conversation, definitely want to shout out Auburn Golf, who is headed back to the national championship. They just finished beating the brakes off the rest of the field today. So congratulations.
The defending national champions. Defending.
Yep, headed back in there to try to defend that thing one more time. You know what I'm talking about? And then got to give a shout out to Auburn baseball, who beat the brakes off of Jack State yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So Auburn baseball poised to potentially, they got the weekend series with Ole Miss coming up to round out the regular season and then heading into SEC tournament play next week. But they have put up a resume that has them poised to potentially be a host once again. So, man, I appreciate Butch Thompson for, he gave us the exclusive behind the scenes going into the season, I think last year, of what they had in store for the facility. And it's a great facility, great experience out there with Auburn baseball. And now they are putting the product out there on the diamond to match. So definitely looking forward to seeing how they perform in the postseason. Shout out to Auburn baseball for that. Auburn softball qualified for the postseason as well. So, hopefully those ladies will make a run here. A lot of great things happening around the Auburn community. So thanks to all of you who support all of the Auburn sports in all of the ways. Auburn football needs to join the postseason party, though. Auburn's basketball went to the Final Four. Auburn golf and equestrian out there winning championships. Auburn baseball consistently making the postseason. It's time for Auburn football to join the party. Mike G had a conversation that was on our Auburn Express content earlier today, talking about the biggest games on the schedule, or ranking the games from kind of the cupcakes to the most difficult ones. And we're going to take a look at the schedule again today and just kind of take a look at like the pivotal games, right? Like not necessarily what's going to be the toughest, but the ones that like, hey, they got to get this one, right? Like, or this one has huge ramifications towards what's going to be happening there for the team. Mike G, you, if I'm not mistaken, had Kentucky as not a cream puff. So let me clarify. Again, they clarified this morning. Let me clarify. There are no easy games in the SEC. That's not a real thing. These are all SEC caliber teams. But you had Kentucky as the game that would be the easiest of if we have to rank them on the schedule, right?
It's Thrift. Thrift actually had Kentucky as his easiest game of the season. Look.
You had Missouri. That's right. Yeah.
I'm very consistent in saying that Missouri is a crap program. They don't deserve to be with us. I don't care how many losing seasons Auburn has had. We still got tradition and history, baby. They got none of that in Columbia. Look, I mean, like you said, there are no easy games on the schedule. I'm sorry, there are no easy schedules in the SEC. However, this is a favorable schedule for Auburn. And part of that is getting to play a Brady Cookless, Luther Burdenless Missouri next year at home. I'm sorry. Like, I get that Eli Drinkwitz he's developed talent well there. He's done a lot with a little. But at some point, like, you hit a wall on the development side. And if the other guy just has more dogs than you lose. Josh Pate says this all the time. He says you were not going to outdevelop Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. They got too many guys. You may be able to get a win here or there, but when it comes to making runs to championships, you're not going to beat those guys. And even if you get them in a 12-team playoff, if you get them during the regular season, they're going to get you in the playoff. Because what are the chances that you're going to beat those guys twice with significantly less talent? This is what you have to love about what Hugh Freeze is doing. Top to bottom, Auburn is a more talented team in 2025 than Missouri. Far more talented. I'll say it again for the people in the back. Far more talented. Auburn has way more talent. Give Hugh his flowers, man. We criticize him on play calling and game planning and a lot of other things, but you can't criticize him on recruiting. He's going out and he's gotten the guys. I like this quarterback room. I like where Auburn is at quarterback right now in year 3. I love it. I'm in love with the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
I love our running backs. I like what they did with the offensive line. I love everything about where this offense is headed. They just got to go out and take the collection of talent and win games. And they still have room to grow on the talent front.
Facts. Because
it's not a 5-star offensive line yet. That's not a 5-star tight end room yet.
Right.
They're talented. But you got 5-star quarterback room. As far as I'm concerned, you got 5-star running back room. I don't care what nobody say. You've got 5-star wide receivers.
At least 4-star. At least 4-star.
Well, yeah, okay, all right, fair enough, right? You know, this is where we're at right now. So yes, you take the collection of all those composite stars, and you absolutely take a shit on Missouri. We have to do it, man. I'm telling you, I'm sick of losing games that they should have won that game last year. Think about it. Auburn was in disarray last year, and Missouri just snuck out. What do you think it's going to be like when Auburn has it together and we have them at home? You know what? I'm going to take a line from Deion Sanders, right? He said this his first year at Colorado. He said, you better get us now because this is the worst we're ever going to be. If you didn't get Auburn last year, that might be the worst they're ever going to be.
From a talent perspective, yeah, they definitely.
That might be the worst they're ever going to be under Hugh Freeze.
Yeah,
I don't think it goes anywhere but up from here.
Yeah, I think that they, listen, even though, and again, we've talked about this before. The amazing thing of all of that is the product on the field does not match the productivity. Somebody on social media, a lot of people on social media, I don't want to single out a single person, have been trying to attribute this to money, right? Like the only reason Auburn is getting these guys is because of money. And that's crazy because Auburn doesn't even have the most money. And they're still recruiting at a really high level. Yes, the money helps. It ain't hurting.
Yeah,
but if you think the only reason that guys are coming to Auburn is because they are getting paychecks, then what's the reason why they're staying?
Yeah, I would counter anybody who's saying that it's only the money that Hugh Freeze is recruiting with. Again, in the top 10, the money is about all the same.
Right.
This is, if you have not watched our 101 with Hugh Freeze.
I will say, I'll add this. The difference is you can get one or two guys for the same amount of money, right? Like you can get a Cam Coleman, you can get a, Keandre Lambert Smith. You're not going to get four of them on Auburn's budget, but you can go get one or two of them.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's going out and getting four of them anyway. And this is why I love
Ohio State definitely was.
This is why I love what's coming with the house settlement. They're about to try to even that out at least some, putting caps on what the universities can spend directly. Now, if our collective is not going anywhere. I verified that with my guy over at Going to Victory. Because Auburn is going to need deals above and beyond what is in this $18 million cap they will have in year one. However, what I mean is the same types of deals, Ike, are available to those players by the schools who are recruiting in the top 10, right? So, I'll give you an example. Whatever we paid for Cam Coleman, everybody in the top 10 had Cam Coleman money.
For sure. That's everybody what I'm saying. You can go get one of them.
Yeah, right. So if the money is the same, it comes down to opportunity and all the traditional things that you recruit on. We talked about this in our interview with Hugh Freeze. Those are the things he wants to recruit on. You need the money to be able to recruit. This is why I kept telling people are like, oh, NIL is going to even the playing field. No, it's not. If anything, it's going to be even more lopsided because it's all the same folks winning now with the money. You guys know I cover UCF. And their collective is going away because they don't even expect to fill that $20.5 million bucket. So they're at the same financial disadvantage after NIL that they were before NIL.
And that's going to be a reality for a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think they're even more at a disadvantage.
Yes, I would agree. It's gonna get real tough for a lot of people in this whole situation. The whole NIL landscape is about to change drastically, though.
Yeah, when there was no money, what you had was an opportunity for players who were talented but exiled, and you know what I mean. Now his money's flying around, and it's like, look, and we got to get ours. So everybody's getting scooped up. That's where Auburn catches back up to teams that should not have been in front of them to begin with when they were recruiting on opportunity. If it's going to be about money, Missouri, back to the basement you go. all these surprise teams that we see, back to the cellar you go. Because you're not going to be able to keep up with the Auburns, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, these people who would literally cheat and have Auburn on the death penalty to win. And I'll say the quiet part out loud. Everybody knows in the SEC, dude, we've already proven we're willing to cheat to win. Winning matters to us more than anything down here, especially in football.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just is what it is. Your grades, the academics, they be damned. Why do you think our offensive and defensive line so good? Because those big dudes who are good at football, but maybe not that smart, can't get into pack schools. Come to the SEC, though. We got you. This is why we can't get rid of Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying?
Keep the GPA up.
Yeah. Right. Graduation rates, baby. We got to tout some. But like, I just feel like, at the end of the day, what they've done here with this schedule, when I'm looking at that schedule, and why I get excited, why I'm starting to get excited about the season is it's really, really find a team that not named Georgia that's heads and tails more talented than Auburn is. Chat, help me out here. If you're watching this on replay, hit the comments. Tell me, which team not named Georgia do you feel like is heads and tails more talented than Auburn is right now today? With the job that they've done in recruiting. With the way that defense
it's going to be difficult to find them. Yeah, listen. There are on Auburn's schedule, right? Because I do think there are some teams in the SEC not on Auburn's schedule that could maybe enter that conversation. But teams on Auburn's schedule, Auburn should be close to, if not equal or better than 80%. Right? I don't even know what 80%.
We have the graphic right here. All right, let's just show this. I'm gonna show the schedule real quick. Right. Okay, so you start off, this game has been moved to the 29th. So you start off with Baylor. You got Ball State, right? Auburn's more talented than Baylor right now. Ball State, South Alabama, bam, 3-0. Is Oklahoma much more, heads and tails more talented than Auburn? I don't think so. They had nobody last year for Jackson Arnold to throw to. They're still, I mean, now I know they picked up John Mateer, but all right, whatever. I think we may have gotten, everybody overreacted to that first season that Mike Elko was having, and it fell apart at the end. Hell, Auburn beat them. Auburn beat Texas A&M last year with that team. Georgia, like I said, not named Georgia. We'll just moving right along. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer. A case could have been made last year for Alabama, but they are definitely less talented this year than they were last year. And under Kalen DeBoer, they will continue to come back to the field. So I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, where is the wide margin in terms of talent? Now you can argue that those teams may have better coaches than Auburn. We'll see if Hugh Freeze can rise to the occasion. That's why I really tried to hold his feet to the fire in that interview. But man, I just look every time I look at the schedule, I just keep thinking Auburn has got, I have to give Hugh Freeze credit. He said if they didn't get in the top 6 or 7 in recruiting by year 3, everybody would be looking for a job. I woke up this morning and ESPN alert hit today talking about the 2026 recruiting class and how Hugh Freeze continues to dominate recruiting.
And listen, he's got the right guys on his team to be able to continue to do that as far as the staff is concerned. But putting some results on the field can absolutely go a long way in taking them over the top. Last year, they were poised to be a top 5 recruiting class. And I think this year that's where they want to try to be. But I think the results on the field need to do some heavy lifting here to get them over that hump, because, we talk about there's not a huge gap when you talk about, the difference between a low 5-star, high 4-star, between, the number 4 class and the number 6 class as far as rating. It's not a huge, like it's literally like one guy that can bump you up into that space. Coach Freeze needs to put a winning product on the field in order, I think, to be able to get that one guy, a guy like the offensive lineman you guys were just talking, like you need to be able to win those kind of battles.
Emmanuel Iheanacho. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So, they're working on that. Right. 5-star. Yeah. He visits in June. Yeah. Again, we did that episode, I think, Tuesday morning. Please go back and listen to that. Our guy, Charlie 5 from the barn, breaking it down. Those guys follow recruiting closely, so they're our go-to for recruiting. It is amazing, the guys, the people that have interest in Auburn. The investment has been made. Man, go walk around Auburn, right? And then go walk around Columbia and tell me which school cares more about football.
Auburn definitely cares more about football.
That's go to that $92 million performance center, football-only facility. Tell me who cares more about football. Go to Jordan-Hare Stadium and take a look at the south scoreboard and then the brand new north scoreboard that's going up. Hell, both of them are pretty new.
Yeah.
And then tell me who cares more about football. Right? Check the phone logs and the text messages to see who's cheating, and then tell me who cares more about football. I'm just playing. I was just playing. But like you understand
the
what I'm
investment's
saying?
there, to your point. Like it's
Yeah,
absolutely being made to try to give them the top of the line facilities, to give them no excuses for not looking good on television. They put I would love to see what the budget is for all the daggone fireworks that they're letting off before games and smoke and all that crap. Like they're definitely putting the product out there that is attractive. Now it's time to put that together on the field. But let's talk about this schedule and the game that you feel, Mike G, of the games that are out here that Auburn, listen, they need to get this one, right? Like this is not from a standpoint of like if you lose this game, not like, people would say, man, you can't lose to Vandy unless Vandy is like that kind of linchpin kind of game. But what is going to be the most important game, in your opinion, on this schedule for Auburn in 2025?
I've got a 1A and a 1B, Ike.
Okay.
So hear me out on this one, right? I'll pull the schedule up again. Again, you get kicked off August 29th versus Baylor. That game has been moved from Saturday to Friday. So Auburn will be in prime time on Friday. My 1A is Oklahoma.
Okay.
The open to SEC play, Jackson Arnold's revenge game in Norman. You win that game, I love Auburn's prospects for the rest of the season. I've repeatedly said to our listeners, I will say it again now, Auburn's season will be defined by how they handle this first 6-game stretch that starts at Baylor and ends at Georgia. You can get out of there 4-2. The next 5 are all super winnable. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer. Woo! Come on, man. Think about this schedule, Ike, in the years where we had Nick Marshall or Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn romps the schedule. At least 10-2. Jarrett Stidham and them would have 10-2 this schedule easily. Jarrett Stidham, Kerryon Johnson and them, Booby. Those guys would have 10-2 this schedule. So, my 1A is Oklahoma. My 1B, and hear me out, is Baylor. You cannot get the season started on a loss, especially after losing to Cal at home last year. Now, I know this one's in Waco, but hear me out, right? If you're Hugh Freeze and you're trying to generate excitement for the season, I know this is not an SEC game, but I think you need to win this one, man. Because 3-0 heading into SEC play puts you in a position where you just have to win one of your first 3 SEC games. 1-3. And you are 4-2 heading into a stretch where you can make a South Carolina type run. And speaking of how they finished their season last year, and find yourself dead smack in the middle of the playoff conversation going into the Iron Bowl. So for me, it's Oklahoma, and then it's Baylor, and those are the pivotal games. Those are the momentum games. Get started with some momentum, and then get started going into SEC with some momentum, and I think sky's the limit for Hugh Freeze and his squad.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that's how it would stack up. I'm going to agree with you. That Oklahoma game to me is an important game. Start a SEC play, and I think it will do a lot to shape. We've heard a lot of people talking about, well, Coach Hugh Freeze kind of repeating over and over again about how he wants to continue to build the confidence of Jackson Arnold. And people are like, oh my God, here we go with him talking about quarterbacks and their confidence again and being comfortable and all this sort of thing. But I think if Jackson Arnold can march a team onto that field in Norman and come out of there with a victory, it will not only give him a tremendous amount of confidence going forward, regardless of what happens in the Baylor game, right? Like, I think the Baylor game is absolutely important. Win or lose, Auburn just can't go out there and get embarrassed on the first game of the season. Then, if you go out there and get smacked by Baylor, then, everybody's immediately oh my God, here we go. But if you win the game or you lose a close one and it just doesn't feel like we're not competing, well, let me say this too. You can't lose a close one and Baylor doesn't look like a good team. And it's like you lost that to that team, right? So Baylor looks like a good team and you lose a close one. That's not the end of the world. First game of the season, you move on, win your next 2-1 going into Norman, even though those 2 games will be against what would be presumably cupcakes. That game in Norman is tremendous. Win or lose versus Baylor. Again, for the confidence of the quarterback, the confidence of the team in that quarterback, the confidence of the coaches in their ability to go on the road and get a tough SEC win. You got to think about Auburn on the road last year. Wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at home. Let's be clear about that. It wasn't pretty at home. But like Kentucky was really the only win that you went on the road and you felt like Auburn did something, right?
Yeah.
And they had some tough road games, right? Like you went on the road versus Georgia, you went on the road versus Bama, you were on the road versus Missouri, right? And you didn't win any of those games. You beat Kentucky on the road, but like you didn't get the road wins that you needed to last season versus your tougher competition. Oklahoma, make no mistake about it, will be a better team this year. They will be a better football team than what Auburn faced last year on the Plains. But that can be a huge boost to the confidence of Jackson Arnold and the team behind Jackson Arnold, doing all the things necessary if they can get that first SEC win early in the season. You don't want to be walking into let's look at it one more time and talk about this again, because you don't want to go on the road again. So let's take the disaster portion of this scenario. Let's say you lose a close game to Baylor. You get your next two versus some cupcakes. You don't want to lose Oklahoma and then have to go on the road to Texas A&M, who I think is going to be a good team again this year, and that be your first opportunity on the road again to try to get your first SEC win. Then, if you don't do that, you got to play Georgia. Like, I don't know how, if you are at that point in time 2-3, you feel any level of confidence in your ability to beat Georgia, even though it's in your own building. So I feel like Oklahoma needs to happen, and it needs to be a dub for Auburn, because I think that gives you the springboard confidence to be able to go and knock out some wins versus some guys, and even come back home versus Georgia and feel good regardless of what happens in that Texas A&M game. If you can get Baylor for sure, and then you can go into Texas A&M 4-0, and that's your first loss on the season, you come back home feeling pretty good about Georgia. I think that Oklahoma game, I'm going to agree with you, has got to be the game that you circle and you say, this one's really important to how this season is going to go for Auburn next year. It's really important.
Ike, I don't know if you saw, but I know we both get the notifications for comments on the channel. A Baylor fan came through the Auburn Express episode and said, y'all losing game 1 in Waco. Remember, I told you so. Sick 'em Bears.
Nice.
Is Sick 'em Bears a chant? Can somebody confirm that?
That is Baylor's thing. Yeah.
Sick 'em Bears. Okay. All right. Sick 'em. Sick 'em buddies.
SIC apostrophe EM. Sick 'em. Yes.
This is really hit. But they're anticipating this matchup, and they're already coming through Auburn podcast in May.
I like it. I like the energy, because y'all remember this actually happened with Cal too.
At Penn State.
The Cal fans, Penn State fans were. I don't know if Penn State fans were on it this early. Cal fans were definitely in the comment section talking about how they were going to win that game the first time when we went to Cal.
Oh yeah, I was talking that because it was because Jaden Knott was running his mouth, man. Like, now he's gone.
That's when you turned up, is when Jaden Knott.
When he started yapping, talking about something. The name don't mean nothing. That's how I know you play West Coast football. The name don't mean nothing. The name is everything down south, right? It means that we care more than you do. Yeah, I am an elitist. I am a Southeastern Conference elitist when it comes to football. We do everything, but we recruit harder. We spend more money. Like, if it's underhanded, we're doing that better than you. Our media days is better. I might go to Big 12 media days just to tell them that SEC media days is better. It's interesting looking at that schedule. I see you guys here in the chat. Most people agree. If you want to get the fans riled up after a 5-7 season, Ike, where fans did not abandon the team, they rushed the field when they beat Texas A&M for their 5th win. Fans didn't quit on Hugh Freeze and Auburn. At the end of our interview, I asked him to look into the camera and tell Auburn fans what they can expect. And he said, look, man, we're really close to giving you the type of product you deserve on the field. Love hearing that from the ball coach. Now, when you sit down and you talk with him, it's not hard to understand how he gets guys to commit to the program. Like I came into that interview. You guys again can tell me what you think about it, but like we try to hold his feet to the fire on some things there, on expectations, on results the last couple of years, on what it's been like, especially on the offensive side of the ball, watching a sub 500 football team for 2 years straight, especially, I said, with the resources afforded to the head ball coach at Auburn. He didn't run from any of that. But you still got to be able to get guys motivated and coach them up. And I still think that he has it when it comes to motivating his guys to go out and do their best. He convinced me. After an hour, we sat there, we talked for an hour straight. And when I got up, he looked at me in my eye and he said, Mike, I think that went really well. I said, I think it went amazing. I think you did yourself a lot of favors. I think you did the program a lot of favors with that interview. Owned what he needed to own. My guy Charlie 5 said this, for all the Hugh Freeze doesn't take accountability, people. That's as straightforward as he's been about saying this was on us. We're not running from that. And yes, two things can be true at once. I've never negated that there is a talent gap. But certainly that talent gap is not why you went 5-7.
Right.
Right? Like at 7-5, we can still have a conversation about a talent gap. Right? Like, yes, talent gap could be the difference between a 7-win season and a 9-win season or 10-win season. Certainly. But they had, I want everybody to be clear, they had 7 to 8 win talent last year. They have 9 to 11 win talent this year. We just got to see if they got 9 to 11 win coaching. And that's where he is taking the charge and saying, yes, it is time for us as a coaching staff to step up. Can't ask for much more than that, than for them to just go out and do it.
Yeah.
But
it's that put up or shut up time. And we will see which of those things they will be doing at the end of this season.
Wait. Before we move on, so was Baylor your game? Was it Baylor? Oklahoma?
No, Oklahoma is mine.
Oklahoma was yours? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to look at that schedule and say, in terms of pivotal games, not easiest or hardest, but pivotal games or momentum games, that there are any other games that stand out in terms of momentum right now. Now, as the season develops.
Correct. As you get into the season and you see which direction it's going, then you're going to talk about, whether it is can you make a turnaround after the bye week type of thing, or, can you keep the momentum going, or can you change the conversation from this is a good team to a team that we slept on a little bit, right? And here's the thing. Everybody's not sleeping on. I think Auburn fans are sleeping on Auburn a little bit more than some other people are, because I'm hearing conversations around different spaces all over the country, and there's a cautious optimism about whether or not Auburn can pull themselves out of the cellar of the SEC. One such conversation has been going on over on 247 Sports, and we are going to talk about that on the other side of the break, because I definitely want to get to some of you all's comments about pivotal games for the season. But we're going to talk about it because 247 Sports thinks that maybe Auburn could be a top 25 seed team going into the season. We'll pay a couple of bills. We'll get back. Get your comments ready. We'll be on the other side of the break doing those. And then we'll be back talking top 25, according to 247 post spring. You are watching the Midweek Report. Share it, like it, comment, subscribe, all of those things. We'll be right back. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
always want to thank our title sponsor, the Rage Room. Visit them if you're in the Opelika area at 1510 2nd Ave, or if you're in Birmingham at 2616 7th Ave South. They got axe throwing up there in Birmingham. I don't know if you need special licenses or what for that, but you can throw some axes up there with our friends at the Rage Room. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Hit that join button, guys. Become a member of our community fast. You want to be a member during media days, and you definitely want to be a member during the season as we go through film reviews and give you guys exclusive content that only our members get. Some of those game day chats as well, too, we limit to members only. Lots of Bama trolls coming into the Auburn live stream to talk junk, and we let them watch, but we don't let them type. So become a Green Name Gang member so you can get in on that action. I want to give the gift of the War Report. Hit that gifted membership button now. Let's see if we can get 20 given away over the next half hour while we're on stream. We appreciate you guys for helping us grow our community this way as well, too. Visit our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code reporter to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And when you go, please let them know that the War Report sent you by using that code. They'll drop a special note in there for you. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Sweet Eye in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's on Highway 431 across the street from Chattahoochee Valley Community College and next to the Renfro Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. Get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Guys, check out our merch store. Lots of bug merch. After I talked to Hugh Freeze, I was ready to bug. I only regret that I didn't have a bug t-shirt to give him. But maybe we'll give him one after the season is over and Auburn has made the playoff. But you can visit thewarreport.com to get your bug merch today. And as always, check us out on podcasts, all the podcast platforms, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content.
Yes, indeed. Appreciate everybody who is in here chatting with us. As always, we will start off the chat with our folks who are dropping a little change on the chat. And a super chat is here from War Dank Eagle, who says, weird hypothetical. Would you rather go 9-3 regular season with wins over Georgia and Bama, or go 10-2 with losses to both?
This is not a weird hypothetical. This is actually a very common hypothetical that gets asked to us. I will tell you this, and hear me out. In today's college football, 10-2 has Auburn in the playoff with a chance for revenge at one of those two teams. So I'm taking 10-2. If your only losses are to Georgia and Bama, you're in the playoff. And I want you to think about this as well.
Potentially even in the SEC championship.
Yeah, right. I mean, at 10-2, now that we have eliminated divisions and you have these schedules, right, where the common opponents aren't the same, and it's going to be really hard. I'd be really hard pressed, I think, not to take 10-2 every year, because any 10-win SEC team is going to be in that college football playoff. Let me be clear, guys. Missouri blew it last year. They blew it. Ole Miss blew it. They should have been in. Alabama blew it. They should have had a cakewalk to the playoff. They couldn't get it done. So, when you're looking at, a 10-2, a 10-win season, you take 10 wins every single time. If we had a 16-team playoff in 2017, Auburn's in the playoff. That's it. That's really that simple. And I know people can't take losing to Georgia and Bama, but are you really going to care if you get to the playoff and somebody else takes them out and then you win a national title?
Yeah, I think the only thing that would be the medicine for that would be something like that, right? Because, look at Ohio State last year. They lost to Michigan and then went on to win the national championship that season. If that's what we're going to, if we got to sacrifice a regular season win to the Turds to go to a natty. Fine.
A natty? Yeah, I'm taking a natty, right?
Yeah.
And we have, that has to be our answer, because if it is not, right, the Bama fans are going to come out of nowhere and see, y'all only care about beating Bama. We care about championships. No, everybody cares about championships. Nobody cares who wins the regular season crown. Remember, was it 2011? With the game of century between Bama and LSU that ended up like 9-6.
Mm-hmm.
They had a rematch in the national title game and Bama won it. LSU had a crazy season up until that point, and they got ramrodded in the national title game, and nobody remembers that year. That's a forgettable year for them. So I don't want that. I don't want to win the regular season and then lose later. Give me the win. I want to be the last one playing.
Yeah.
That's how Auburn should be thinking. And before we move on, though, like I said, again about that 9-3 and 10-2. 9-3 gets you South Carolina last year. Probably the hottest team in America. But just on the outside looking in, because they were already outside playoff expectations coming into the season. So at 9-3, they were unable to pierce that back end, right? At 10 wins, they would have been in. At 10 wins, they would have been. And then you have Missouri, who did finish 9-3, left out. And guess who? And you know who ruined it for them? South Carolina. They couldn't beat South Carolina. They lost to Bama and they lost to Texas A&M. Those were all really good losses, but 9-3 because they're Missouri had them out. 9-3 wasn't even good enough to get Bama in.
Yeah.
You say 10-2 every time, man.
Yeah, the goal is to get to the playoff. So if I'm choosing between the two, then take me to the route that gets us into the college football playoff and going out there and trying to compete for that national championship. And I'll let the Bama and Georgia fans have, well, but you couldn't beat us, because that's all Michigan fans have right now. Because if you look at anything involving Ohio State out there where they're talking about Ohio State players, expectations for this season, but you couldn't beat Michigan. Yeah, you did everything, but you couldn't beat me. It's like, hey, bro, they won a championship. Like, you look dumb right now.
Yeah. I would argue 10-2, you being 10-2 potentially means that one of these two teams is not. Right? Like, yeah, because
it's unlikely both of them would be, right?
So, yeah. One of these two teams is not, and they're on the outside looking in while you're still playing football in December and January. So the playoff changes the math, I think, for the regular season quite a bit. And look, if you're a 9-2 Auburn team heading into the Iron Bowl, we already painted the scenario for you guys. 4-2 in the first 6, win your next 5, and then, it could be a winner gets a playoff spot game for the Iron Bowl. We needed more of that. You know what made the kick 6 so crazy was everything was on the line in that game for those two teams. Everything was on the line. The winner potentially in the national title game. I think Bama was 4 headed into that game.
Yeah, they would have gone to the SEC championship game had they won. So
had they won it, yeah, a one-loss Auburn team headed into that game, and everything was on the line in the Iron Bowl. It's time for Auburn to hold up their end of the bargain in terms of making that rivalry the greatest on the scoreboard again.
Yeah.
It is the greatest in terms of the fans and the tradition and the history. Certainly, nothing tops it. But it's time for it to make it nationally relevant again, like it was in 2013. Gus pulling off 2 back-to-back wins versus Georgia and Alabama in 2017. The 2010 Iron Bowl was the greatest comeback in Auburn history. There was so much on the line. Auburn had everything to lose going into Tuscaloosa. And Alabama just wanted to play spoiler.
Yeah.
They were in the SEC championship game, whether they won or lost. But potentially, it would have knocked them out of the national title contention had they not won it.
Right.
So, 10-2, man, I'm telling you, get to 10 wins, you're in the playoff. I don't see how any SEC team could win 10 games and not get in.
It'd be highly unlikely. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. P-Pass says, no cautious optimism for him. Going 12-0. I love the book. I love the book.
Okay, I didn't know where he was going with that. Okay.
Yeah. Devin said she loved the interview. It was awesome. Definitely appreciate that.
Made possible by you guys, Devin.
Thomas Porterfield says, I agree. We have to beat Baylor, and impressively. He thinks that first game is important. Need to go out there and make a statement. First game. Listen, all eyes on Auburn. Friday game. Nobody else is blessed. It's a matchup that a lot of people will be paying attention to because there's no other college football game that's going to be bigger on that day. So
yeah, I was looking at the schedule. Colorado and Georgia Tech play. Kansas plays and Wake Forest plays, and I think those are all the power P4 teams that play on that Friday. But Colorado and Georgia Tech are in the 8 p.m. Eastern slot on ESPN. So I don't know if you would consider that bigger. I know Dion. Everybody's gonna have their eyes on Dion that day, but I think Auburn is probably the more impactful game in terms of Thomas's question there. And it went off the screen.
I clicked it off. He just said we gotta beat Baylor, and it's impressive.
Yeah, like the second half of that about it being impressive. I agree with that in a sense that you need to look like you have an identity on offense. That's what would impress me. If Auburn can come out, establish the run.
It can't be one of those like it was in the Cal game. They went all the way across the country and 14-10. Like we can't do that.
The win that felt like a loss, right? You can't do that. I don't think you can do that. You can't look disjointed on offense. So when he says win impressive, I don't think it's about margin of victory more so than it just is about how polished do they look and are they executing the offensive concepts that they put in at a high level. Jackson Arnold, from what I'm hearing through my sources, has picked up what Hugh Freeze is putting down faster than any other quarterback he's ever coached. Take that for what it's worth. But yeah, my sources have told me that he's and when I say that, my sources is pretty good, pretty credible on this one. But he's picked things up very, very fast, and they feel very confident with him at quarterback. So confident during the interview, he said he's our starter. Right. Yeah. It wasn't not even a question.
Which it shouldn't have been a question at any rate, because I don't think a true freshman in Deuce Knight, regardless of how talented he was, if there was a cupcake game first, you could have that conversation. But if you're going into Baylor game 1, you need to have a guy who's had at least a little starting experience. And that would be one Jackson Arnold, because it's not like Jackson Arnold's a slouch despite what he went through previously at Oklahoma. Felix agrees with the take about taking down Baylor. It's not the end of the world, but it would be a confidence booster if Auburn could beat them in the first game. Auburn would really be lit starting the season 3-0. I agree. Like the enthusiasm ratchets up way higher. You win that Baylor game, and then you expect to win the next 2. The Oklahoma conversation changes a lot if you do that.
The issue too being that you start on the road, then you got 2 cupcakes at home, and then you go on the road for 2 games, and then you come home for Georgia.
Right. And so I know you said that is an easy schedule, but like those first 3 road games are not easy.
Yeah. Like they say, the meat is all in the first half of the schedule for sure. Right. Like I agree. That's why I'm pinning the hopes of their season on how they get through that first half of the schedule. But your ability to be able to win championships is defined by your ability to go on the road and win. That's it. It's bottom line. If you can't go on the road and win, you can't win championships in college football, because you will literally have to win the road games. But you got to win the championship away from home. You're not going to play it in your stadium. Right. You got to be able to go out of your environment, go out of your comfort zone, and win games and close games out. And that's what we've seen for the better teams in college football throughout the years. They go on the road and they step on your neck in your stadium. Can they do that? Well, one of the ways you do that is you are heads and tails so much more talented than the people that you play, that when you bring your B- game, you still win by 2 scores. That's what Hugh Freeze is really trying to build. He's trying to give himself a coaching cushion. And look, B. Will 100%. Has made this point about Saban for years. Not the best game day coach, but he's got that Saban cushion. He's got the Saban handicap. I just got way better players than you, so I can afford to make a couple bad calls in critical moments. My guys may potentially go out and get a pick 6 the next play, or break. A perfect example of this was, you remember in 2019 the Bama LSU game, when they were going shot for shot. Any team without Joe Burrow would have folded. LSU was the only team in the country, I felt, offensively that had enough talent to trade blows with Alabama the way they did at Alabama. It was like every time I thought they were about to shut the door, Tua threw a 99-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. I think the final score was 48-45.
Yeah, it was an exciting game. A lot of offense in that game.
Yeah. I mean, but talent. It was talent. There was NFL talent all over the field. Legit. There were 3 Heisman winners in that game. And so I just get the guys. Get the guys. That's what he's doing. I don't know how you can't be excited about it. It's you can be disappointed about the results the last couple of years, but you can't be disappointed about the talent that they're bringing in.
Yeah, that's been the saving grace for sure, the way that they're being able to accumulate the talent. Daniel reminding everyone that Jaden Ott is now at Oklahoma, which is true.
Right. That's right. Auburn gets to play him again. Look, he has not done well versus Auburn cumulatively in those 2 matchups.
Yeah, neither of those games were particularly good for him. So I'm sure he's looking to have a little bit of a reprieve there. All right. Tease it a little bit at the top of the break. Let's get into it right now in these last minutes that we have. But 247 put out their post-spring top 25, and Auburn is on the list here. Auburn lands at number 21.
Yeah.
In the postseason top 25, voted on by the 247 sports experts. I don't know who this expert panel of people at 247 happens to be, but they have Texas as the best team in the country right now. Penn State at number 2. That one's surprising to me. Ohio State, the defending national champions, at number 3. Clemson making a jump up to number 4. Oregon at 5. Georgia at 6. Notre Dame at 7. Bama at 8. LSU at 9. Florida at 10. Staying right there in the state of Florida. Miami at 11. SMU in the top 12 there. Arizona State. Arizona State's way too high. Like, oh my goodness. On here at 13. Illinois at 14. Michigan, after not so great a season, at 15. Texas Tech 16. South Carolina at 17. Ole Miss, broken ugly themselves, at 18. Iowa State at 19. Kansas State at 20, Auburn at 21, Yale at, that's BYU. BYU at 20. I was about to say Yale football. At 22, Texas A&M at 23, Louisville at 24, and Oklahoma rounding out the top 25 at number 25. Again, this is post-spring top 25 projections voted on by 247 Sports. Mike G, thoughts on Auburn making the top 25 and some of the other teams here and where they're placed?
Am I counting right? Is that 10 SEC teams in the top 25?
Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Florida, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. Did I look over something? I counted 9 right then. Texas, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Florida, 10, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. I don't know what that ends up being. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10. Yeah. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep.
When I look at this list, it's hard for me not to notice that Missouri is nowhere to be seen because they're terrible.
Missouri is not on here.
They are not on here. So just got to throw them some shade real quick. Arizona State.
However, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teams that Auburn does play on this? Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Bama, Georgia.
Yeah, that's the SEC. That's the SEC, and potentially another one should you make the SEC championship game, right? Like, you will 100% be playing a top 25 team if you make the SEC championship game. So whether it's a rematch or somebody new. The cluster down here from 17 to 25 of SEC teams is interesting to me, right? You've got 5 teams kind of on the back end where it was like, South Carolina may return the best quarterback in the conference, Illinois Sellers, may, right? I think he's in the conversation for best quarterback in the conference this year. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has consistently put out enough, right? That you put them in the top 25, but I think having them closer to the back end reflects what a lot of us have felt about Lane Kiffin for a while. It's like, look, man, last year you didn't make the playoffs last year. I don't know what year you make it. they had a favorable schedule. They had their quarterback. They had all the necessary ingredients. They did run off Quinshon Judkins, who is now a national champion, I might add. But I don't know. And then for Auburn, getting inside the top 25 to me is reflective again of the talent that you're recognizing, the talent level on the Plains, because it's not about anything they've done since Hugh Freeze has been at Auburn. Two straight losing seasons, man. This is about talent. This is about people recognizing that they have the talent to be ranked up here.
That's 100% correct.
Which goes back to my point about them having the talent to win 7 games last year. And then conversely, they've got the talent to win 8 to 10 games, depending on how the ball bounces. That should be the range for them this year. Arizona State's a little high for me. I know they had a great season last year, but they're a little high for me. I think they returned Sam Levitt. But we'll have to see where this goes. So yeah, Arizona State's a little high for me. Ohio State at 3. I get it. Texas is.
I don't know how Ohio State's ahead of Penn State right now, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Or not.
I mean, how Penn State? Yeah, excuse me. How Penn State is ahead of Ohio State right now.
Yeah, I'd have to go back.
Actually, I don't know how Penn State is ahead of Oregon. And I mean, I think the two teams that I get, Oregon and Ohio State. Well, I mean, Penn State lost their quarterback. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I was about to say Penn State is not returning their quarterback either. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one, but
this is and in Florida, I get it. Billy Napier did a bang up job last year, and DJ Lagway turns out he's going to be a dude. But I'm not sure I saw a top 10 from them last year. I mean,
listen, I have not taken a second to look at that Florida roster, but this is, I think, projecting a ton of confidence in DJ Lagway right here.
A ton. Yeah. Alabama
and Miami, honestly, too. They're expecting some big things from Miami. Listen, I get that you got the transfer in at quarterback again, but I don't know. Like I said, that Miami team still felt a little fortunate last year, and they just had the number 1 draft pick at quarterback, the most highly touted transfer quarterback last season, and they felt like they got away with a couple of games last year. I don't know that you're top 15 switching over, despite what you think about the quarterback that comes in. So
yeah, Texas Tech spent Texas A&M money on recruiting this last cycle. They spent a ton of money in NIL. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of season they have, because they certainly took the let's just buy a roster approach. That doesn't always pan out if you don't have the coaching, right? Jimbo Fisher showed us that. Georgia, Alabama, and LSU are right about where I think they should be to start the season.
Listen, I gotta look at that LSU roster again, bro. I need them to play some defense, and before I'm ready to put them in the top 10. I think they're a top 25 team. I don't know if they're top 10 until I need to evaluate their roster, and I have
top 15. I'll give Brian Kelly his credit. Right? He produced a Heisman winner last year, but you're right. The defense was so utterly awful
for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it is really difficult, and when you're playing an SEC schedule, it's hard. I mean, they finished 5-3 in conference, which is not terrible.
Yeah, it's
9-4 overall, right? But they should have been a fringe playoff team last year. They should have been a fringe playoff team last year. And Alabama, hear me on this one, because I know there are a few Bammers that watch us regularly. We have live front row seats, Ike, to the steady decline and downfall of Alabama football. It is coming. Kalen DeBoer is in over his head. He's in over his head. I don't think he gets it. I think that after one more year of mediocre results comparative to what his predecessor did, there's going to be a continued shift away from the narrative that Alabama is the preeminent program in college football. You had a good run. You had a great run. You lucked into hiring the best coach of all time. All because the Dolphins GM wouldn't let Nick Saban have Drew Brees. That's what gave us Alabama over the last 20 years. But every run, similar to what we saw with the New England Patriots, has to come to an end. And they're continuing to give Alabama the respect because of that carryover of talent. And he did just well enough with the most talented roster anybody has ever inherited. By the composite star, he inherited more talent than any coach in the history of college football, taking over a major college football program. And he underperformed those expectations. That continues as the money continues to get spent with Oklahoma and Texas in the conference, and everybody else catches up. I think Hugh Freeze continues to kick his ass in recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from a recruiting standpoint, Auburn is definitely going to continue. Like he said it, and you've heard Will Redmond talk about it. The priority is winning the state. They've definitely did that last year, and I think that they're going to continue to try to keep that stranglehold on the recruiting in the state. But again, if they're going to ascend and keep this train rolling, they got to win some games. Being number 21 on this list, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm expecting Auburn to maybe finish in the top 25, preseason top 25. I am not there yet. I don't know that Auburn is one of the top 25 teams in the country right now, until we see some sort of offense that resembles competency. And having a bunch of talent does not make you competent offensively.
I was right. Like, and I think it was Andy Staples that had all 15 on his list or something. That to me is ridiculous. I don't think anything warrants putting them that high. But I can live with the back end of the top 25 because the talent floor may negate some of the coaching things that you're talking about, right? Where the wide receiver room is at, and if they have their quarterback, if Jackson Arnold is an average quarterback, if we're moving on that assumption, then I think 21 is about. I could deal with Auburn anywhere from 20 to 25.
This to me screams confidence that Jackson Arnold can get it right. Like the 247 guys look at all of the talent around Jackson Arnold and say he can't screw this up, right? Like the reason why he looked so bad at Oklahoma last year is because there was not enough talent around. He's got so much talent around, like can't screw this up. Like this is a team that should. This is a 9-3 team, right? According to this ranking. If you're number 21, like I don't know what the top 25 was and how it finished out or the season last year, but I would venture to say that the vast majority of the teams that finished in the top 25 didn't have more than 3 losses in the regular season last year. So back half or the final 5 in here in the top 25 sounds like a team that finished a season losing no more than 3 games. And if you're going to do that, then you have some level of competent play at quarterback, because again, all of the other stuff around Jackson Arnold is so good. It's so good. Yeah. Like, I don't know how you look at that wide receiver room for Auburn and you say to yourself, that's not an amazingly talented wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, look at Oklahoma. John Mateer is a talented quarterback, but is he going to, I mean, like, has their receiver situation improved significantly?
I mean, a lot of that was injury last year. Like it wasn't just because they didn't have talent. It's because they had a lot of guys injured. I mean, if they're healthier, listen, Oklahoma's going to be a talented team. They're going to be a team that's going to be supremely talented all over the field. But to your point, I don't know how much better they got at the wide receiver room than last year, even if they had all their guys. I don't know.
Guys, yeah. I'm not sure about that, but I can definitely say that about Auburn. You know, I'm looking at that talent floor and the approach that they've taken. There was a question earlier about NIL, and you know, you kind of made the statement about like whether we were talking about Auburn having Cam Coleman money or this, part of the math is not just that you have money to spend, it's where and how you choose to spend the money. Right. So Hugh Freeze has taken an approach the first couple of years to say, we're not going to go out and drop $2-3 million on a quarterback because we feel that we're more than a quarterback away. So while we're in search of that guy, whether he be from high school or the portal, let's just continue to stack the deck around him and set a safe talent floor so that no matter who is at quarterback, you know, we should have a 3,000-yard passer. They should be able to move the ball effectively in third and long, at least 50% of the time. We should be able to run the ball because you can no longer just load the box and tee off against the quarterback.
Right.
So I like what they've done here. And I think that when you see these lists come out and you see Auburn consistently being mentioned in the top 25, like it's just people recognizing that the talent level has risen so much for a team that lost 7 games last year. Surprisingly, these guys making these lists recognize a lot of the names on the roster.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, you got to think about it. 247, where they make their money is in recruiting.
Yeah,
and they know
names. Yeah, they know.
They know the talent that is on the rosters of these teams better than we do, right? Which is why, you know, I might sit here and say, I don't know, this team might be a little bit too high, and they're saying to themselves, I remember ranking this kid out of high school, and he's now on this team along with all the guys that they got, blah blah. Like the cumulative effect of the talent amassing on this team is going to be good, considering what they have come, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So, but Auburn puts themselves in that conversation though now.
Yeah, you make a great point about like, that's their business, right? Literally is understanding talent. So when they make a list, you know, 247s, the on threes, they're looking at the guys they've been covering or recruiting and saying, whew, that's certainly a lot of guys that we covered.
Right.
Because, you know, I want to be clear, you know, there are some hidden gems that they cover, but for the most part, they spend their time chasing top guys.
Right.
And reporting out on what they're doing. So, like, when you see guys like Cam Coleman, and there were a lot of people who were trying to tell me specifically, I was getting DMs about Malcolm Simmons. They were like, I know y'all high on Cam Coleman, but Malcolm Simmons is going to play this year. Like, gee, I'm telling you, I watched him in high school. He's really good. He's really good. He's really good. And then the preseason came, and it was Malcolm Simmons making plays. And then the season got here, and then every time he touched the ball, he was electric. So, you know, surprisingly, there are household names. When we vote for all SEC at media days, I will tell you this. When you know why Alabama and Georgia have so many guys on those all SEC lists, especially in the preseason, and this is for our listeners, guys, we get a list of names a mile long for each position.
And I guarantee you the vast majority of those people don't know a third of the names on the list.
I'm telling you, I could not name one DB at Vanderbilt right now.
But there's going to be a Vanderbilt DB on that list.
Right, but there will be a Vanderbilt DB on that list. And if my peers in the media are being honest, they don't know. Unless you cover Vanderbilt, you don't know who they are either. So they could be really good, but because they come from a brand that has primarily been associated with losing and not winning football games, those guys aren't getting noticed.
Yeah, there's only one person on that Vanderbilt team that people are going to look at that list and say to themselves, okay, maybe he deserves to be up here. But outside of that, it's going to be a bunch of people that the majority. Now, there are going to be some who are well-studied who will know some of those guys, but the majority will not have looked that exhaustively to be able to make an evaluative thing about who is playing left tackle at Vanderbilt or who is the starting corner at Kentucky.
And normally they're well outside the top 25 in recruiting. So the guys they are getting aren't those top guys that everybody's covering that we're talking about coming out of high school. So if they do have somebody on the list that you recognize, it's likely somebody who has played a ton of games and has already shown that they can do it at the college level, and they're going into their junior or senior season or their fifth year, right? Diego Pavia, for example, if he makes a list, it's going to be because of what he's already done.
Correct.
But ask me who he was 2-3 years ago, I couldn't have told you. So I mean, and I know he didn't start at Vanderbilt, but like you get my point here is that those Georgia and Alabama guys, because of brand recognition, get noticed by the media, and a lot of I've seen this happen before my eyes that they don't know who to pick. They'll just pick somebody from Georgia or Alabama that sounds familiar to them.
Correct.
That's how those guys get voted. Hugh Freeze is moving Auburn into a place where now his guys people know who they are. So there's no person voting in the SEC media poll that's not going to know who Cam Coleman is.
Right.
If you don't quit, you should not be voting at all. I mean, you know what I mean? Like everybody knows who Ryan Williams is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what school you cover. We all know who Ryan Williams is.
Yeah, we could probably sit here and predict the vast majority of who's going to get picked right now by the media without
it's popularity contest. But now people know who Malcolm Simmons is. People are going to know who Eric Singleton is, number 2 player in the portal. People will know who Perry Thompson is if he's not going to make any lists this year because he didn't play enough last year. But you understand he's top 30 overall guy. Had he gotten 500 to 600 yards last year, he'd be the second team All SEC easy as a true freshman. So it's just one of those things where this is where Hugh Freeze is starting to move Auburn, where it's kind of like, yeah, I remember they got Cam Coleman, they picked up Jackson Arnold, 21. It's hard to leave them off the list when you recognize so much of the talent. That's what he's built. This is the beauty of what Hugh Freeze has built. And that should be the gift that keeps on giving, because once you get that name brand recognition and you get those players that are coming out of your system, I mean, don't forget, Freeze had DK Metcalf on the phone during recruiting on a video call. Hey, man, tell him DK. Tell him on the real deal. Call up AJ Brown. Tell him I'm the real deal. So that's why they're getting this love, man. I think it's warranted. I think, and like I said, I understand where you're at. I just think between 21 and 25 or 20 and 25, I'm okay with that. Once you start moving them up there, these are the teams that I think once you're in the top 15, you need to have done something last year. That's why it's disappointing to see Ole Miss down to 18, right? Like they had a clear path.
Yeah, but they're hitting the reset button on a lot of stuff over there at Ole Miss. So I'm sure that has a lot to do with the drop that they have.
And for a coach who recruits high school lazily in comparison to his peers in the conference, this is where the talent, while you may be great at developing, this is where the talent gap always catches up to you. I'm telling you, it always catches up to you at the end of the day. We've just seen too many examples of it, and that's what Josh Pate is saying. He's just like, look, man, they just have way too many guys. They got the next 5-star sitting on the bench, bursting at the seams to get his turn.
Right.
If you don't have as many as they do, you may be able to get them every once in a while. You may be able to pull one over on Kirby or Nick every once in a while. Certainly, I think Ole Miss beat Georgia last year. But if you're asking me to pick that game 9 times out of 10, I'm picking Georgia. Especially with the way Saban recruits. With the way Kiffin recruits high school. No way. Auburn is in prime position. As a matter of fact, right around here, is about where they start most seasons that we see them make a real run at it. Back half to outside the top 25.
Yeah.
So they're in a real good position right now. I love what we're seeing. This, I was very cautiously optimistic heading into the spring. We covered a lot of basketball this year, and in football, there was a deprioritization of spring football this year across the board. We saw less spring games televised. Ike, we saw, we just, and you and I, we were firmly had our attention that by the time we wound down from the Final Four, there were like 5 days of spring football left. And so once we got a chance to take a step back and look at the totality of what was the spring for Auburn football, they're in a real good position. I mean, there were so many things. We talked about it during the interview. Hugh Freeze being able to only focus on Deuce and Jackson. Part of these, Auburn slipping into a top 25 ranking is people recognizing, if you cover, you understand that the quarterback room appears a lot more stable in comparison to past QB rooms under Freeze at Auburn. Deuce is a lot more ready than people thought he was going to be.
Right.
I think Jackson Arnold's going to have a great season. And barring injury, I just don't see him. I don't see anybody taking the job from him.
Listen, if we're having a conversation about somebody taking the job, then we're having the wrong conversation, because you want your starting quarterback to be the guy throughout the majority of the season. And injury should be the only reason that changes.
Yeah, I really, everything I've heard about Jackson Arnold since he's been on the Plains, I love. I love his attitude. I like the way he works. I like the way he's approached kind of, not only getting into the culture, but being the culture for his head coach, being the leader. And in turn, his head coach has said, look, no question, he is our unquestioned starter and leader. I've been recruiting this guy since high school. I thought he was a freak then. I think he's a freak now. And I think that we needed to get him into a little bit better situation here than he had at Oklahoma. He feels like he has that. We feel like he has that. And when you're projecting that rather than, I don't know, or we got to go recruit, I think the media and the people who make these polls get a hold of that, and they say, Freeze is sounding a little different.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is.
Yeah, his tone is markedly different than last year this time.
For sure. Well, we will see what happens with Auburn. I'm looking forward to seeing the outcome out there on the field. Couple of chats here before we get out of here, though. Get Musty, this is an interesting screen name, says, Bama sure is high with that QB situation they have.
Hi, Simpson.
I mean, Keelan Russell is actually getting a lot of love from the Bama media right now as a true freshman guy. So I am interested to see whether or not they and even, I mean, I heard Kalen DeBoer talking a little bit about how much he thinks that Keelan Russell is supremely talented. So I think it's going to be, I don't know that he has gotten to a place where he's ready to say anybody is the winner in that room yet. And that is interesting, that the true freshman may have an opportunity to be the starter there for Bama at the quarterback position.
Yeah. So I got questions. I have questions. I think we're going to find out. People pointed to Michael Penix and talking about Kalen DeBoer and quarterbacks. I don't know. I think Michael Penix is a really talented guy, and I think that he's great. I just don't know how much I really attribute of who he is to Kalen DeBoer. I think he was very fortunate to have him as a quarterback, and I think we'll find out more in the coming years. I don't think that Jalen Milroe was a better quarterback under Kalen DeBoer than he was under Nick Saban.
He was darn near the same quarterback. If we're being honest, he was the same quarterback. He didn't improve in any significant ways last year. And again, it's not saying anything about Jalen Milroe's talent. I'm just saying there was no significant improvement year over year.
Yeah, I mean, realistically,
and maybe it was Grubb being absent, right? Like Grubb was the OC who wasn't there last year. He was at Seattle and all that kind of stuff, and now he's back at Bama, and maybe he's the guy that can unlock the quarterback, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, to your point, DeBoer did not turn Jalen Milroe into a better pro prospect year over year.
Yeah, I mean, he was slightly worse year over year, right? Like in 2023, if you look at Jalen Milroe's stats, he was 65.8% completion percentage, only 284 attempts. Now, we know he is a little bit of a runner, so he had 161 carries, which is a ton for a quarterback, right? But he had 12 touchdowns on the ground, which is crazy. 500 yards rushing, 2,800 yards passing, right? In 2024, under Kalen DeBoer, it was the same, to your point, exactly the same, 2,800 yards passing. But he carried the ball 168 times at 4.3 yards per carry. I mean, they were just riding him. And he was more efficient, right? His completion percentage point went down a percentage point to 64.3%. I think I'm with you. I think he's like the same dude.
Yeah.
He didn't improve. So he didn't do anything. He just was who he was. That was it. And that's what they got.
For sure. So, I mean, again, we'll see what happens. They don't have that kind of athleticism in Jalen Milroe. So they're going to have to figure out how to make it into a team that can be a quarterback that can throw the ball around the yard a little bit better. And maybe one of those guys can. I haven't seen, Keelan Russell came out with a lot of hype from high school. And a lot of people feel like he could be a day one starter there. So we will see what happens, what transpires with that team as they move forward. Miller House says, my bad, haven't seen a post-spring top 25 with Baylor in it. Just saying, responding to one of the Baylor guys here in the comments.
Yeah. Dave Aranda is still their coach, right? Like,
he is.
Look, it's gonna be a challenging game. Game ones, you just never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you just
listen, USC beat LSU last year in the first game of the season. You're like, oh, USC, and then they went out there and looked terrible for the rest of the year.
Yeah, LSU definitely had a better season.
So we will see what happens with all of these things. We've got a lot of time to still talk about all of this stuff, though, man. College football is still months away, and there are so many more things that we could talk about. Mike G, we need to be talking to these people about ways that they can support the work the War Report is doing, though.
Yeah, as always, want to thank our top sponsor, The Rage Room. Visit them if you're in Opelika at 1510 Second Ave, or if you're in Birmingham at 2616 7th Ave South, downtown Birmingham. The Rage Room, longtime sponsors of the War Report. When you get to the front desk, make sure you let them know what the War Report sent you. As I mentioned, you can support us by hitting that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. Look, Green Name Gang, you guys are amazing, especially on social media, reposting our stuff. If you guys are on Twitter, repost this live, tag us, comment. All these things help us. We appreciate you. And if you can't afford to sign up for a membership, all we ask that you do is watch and comment. That's it. So we appreciate our community for helping us grow our community. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, helping keep you fresh for the weekend, not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite I in Phoenix City, Alabama. Guys, get your War Report merch at thewarreport.com. It is time to boog, and we got you covered with lots of boog merch, as well as some traditional War Report gear. But please go support us by buying yourself a t-shirt, a hat, a hoodie, anything. We appreciate you guys for doing that as well. And check us out on podcasts. Every single podcast platform, we are there bringing you lots of great audio-only content. College Loop, Auburn Express, Uptempo, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel, bringing you guys a little something different there. We are growing in the audio sector, but we need your help. Apple has changed the way that they count downloads and do stuff. So it's really important that when you guys subscribe to the podcast, no matter what platform it is on, that you turn it on so that our episodes automatically download to your device. So it may seem like a small thing to you, but it is a huge thing to us. Help us climb the podcast charts. Audio is huge in our industry. And I know you guys are watching on YouTube, probably like YouTube a little better than podcasts, but whether you go back and listen or not, if you turn on those automatic downloads, it really, really helps us. So please subscribe on podcast, whatever podcast platform you subscribe on. and turn on those downloads for us.
Yes, indeed. And if you are not out there on the podcast, you still share it, as Mike G said, out there on social media right here on YouTube. Like the video, man. Go ahead and give a thumbs up on the video. That helps us out a lot in those algorithms as well. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already done that. No money involved in hitting the thumbs up. No money involved in hitting subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us X and Instagram at The War Report, TW Report on TikTok. Back at you with more great content later on this week. Of course, I ain't hit y'all with no film this week, so y'all know I got something coming for you. Going to try to get 2 more defensive line transfers knocked out this week. So the kid from Sam Houston, Chris Murray, I think I got some film from him. And I can't remember who else. Doesn't matter. I got film for y'all this week, man. So make sure y'all get tapped in with that Green Name Gang. I got y'all coming up. We're out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.